Hello and welcome to the Best Today podcast. I am your host, Shunta Grant, and today I want to talk to you about something that I have taught against for years now. And many times it is met with a little bit of pushback. But the more I've been teaching this, particularly with my corporate clients, when I go into companies, corporations, and train their team members, I'm going to tell you, if we can withdraw our relationship with this thing, it is going to help you to steward your time and your mind, your body much better, right? We're talking about something that we celebrate people for doing, and truly it has become a default way to live and operate and function in our culture, but it also has contrary or unintended consequences, and that is, drum roll, you probably already know because you've seen the title, multitasking. So I would like to make a case against multitasking and invite you to choose focusing on one thing at a time. And let's talk about why, even if you end up not agreeing with me. Let's just have a conversation, okay? So multitasking is essentially simultaneously working on one or more things. So we're talking about at the same time, simultaneously or concurrently, giving your energy and your effort, your mind power, to more than one task or thing. Now, studies have consistently shown that our brains are not made and wired to do two things at once. Instead, what's happening when it feels like you're multitasking, you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing so great. I've got three things going at once. I'm doing A and B, or I'm doing a little bit of A, B, and C at the same time. Oh, look at me. I'm just getting so much done. Ha, ha, ha. I'm cheating time. But what's actually happening is your brain is not doing two or more things at once. It is switching back and forth, back and forth, back and forth from one thing to the next, which is basically like your brain is playing ping pong. And then you wonder why you're drained and tired, even if what you're doing is some kind of quote unquote mindless task, right? Your brain and your body they were not built to multitask as the norm. Like that's how you do most things. That's how you operate most of the time in your day. It is actually quite draining on your brain, on your mind. And then of course, it's going to have that toll on your emotions and your body. And so if you find yourself in a day full of multitasking, wonder why you just particularly feel drained, or maybe you've normalized and thought, well, okay, this is just what my body feels like. It's just tired. And maybe it's not tired because you've actually been going all day, but it's the way in which you did go, the way in which you operated in the day drained your body beyond necessity, beyond its capacity, and beyond what was necessary to do what you needed to do in the day. What I have noticed to be true about multitasking is that neither you or the task get the best results. And this is one of the reasons why I want to invite you to reconsider multitasking. You don't get the best result because you are not giving that one thing your full energy and focus. It also takes longer for either task, right? When you can narrow your focus on one thing and give that one thing your full attention, you have a better end result because now you're focused just on that. Your brain isn't reserving 20%, 30%, 50% for another thing and trying to, again, bounce back and forth, because you're not giving 100% to two things. You're giving some percentage. You're breaking down and chipping down the percentage you're giving to however many things you're working on consistently, right? Or not consistently, but consecutively, not consecutively. Well, right in that one moment, right? Simultaneously, concurrently. You know what I mean when I say multitask, right? So when you narrow your focus, like on the one thing and give it your full attention, you're going to get a better result because you are giving it more of your attention and effort, and you're not working with a built-in distraction. Multitasking, another thing about it is it's basically working with a built-in distraction. So a lot of people say, well, I just need to figure out how to minimize my distractions. Well, stop multitasking, because whatever the other task is, it is an inherent built-in distraction. The distraction is the other task or tasks that you're also trying to do at the same time, or back to back to back to back. You won't reap the full benefits of any of those things that you're trying to do, right? So trying to listen to me right now, because I have a feeling maybe you're multitasking right now, right? Trying to listen to me but let's say you're trying to do something like type an email, right? You're likely going to have a typo, some missed words. It's going to take longer to type the email, or you'll have to keep pausing me and you'll miss something that I said that could be the very thing that could have been a help to you. And so when trying to do something that requires our brains, right? Our minds, like listening to someone else speak and then also trying to, because when you're typing an email, you're also speaking to someone, right? You're trying to listen and speak at the same time. Very, very difficult. And not only very difficult, but very difficult to do accurately. You're not listening fully, but you're also likely going to make errors when doing the communication, typing an email, scrolling, responding to someone, sending a text, that kind of thing, right? Another form of multitasking while working is basically allowing in, I talked about like you're just allowing in distractions, but let's say that you are focused on writing or reading. You're at your desk and you're writing or you're reading, and a call comes in and you take it. And you've now stopped that first thing you're working on. Let's just say you were writing something. You've stopped that task temporarily to take on another. That phone call became a distraction, because when you get back to the original task, you are further behind than where you left off. And you've lost any momentum that you've built in the thing you were doing first, and likely lost an idea that was lingering right as you stopped to answer the phone. When possible, when this works within, the confines and the structure of your work, when you are focused on something, and this applies clearly outside of work, but I'm just using this as an example, shut off everything else. Protect that time, and then come back after you're done with that. Have a moment where okay, I finished this thing, or I've finished a time frame that I've used to protect this time. And now I will turn to see if I had any messages that I missed. Now I might turn to see if any urgent messages came in via email, but not while I'm actually focused on this one thing, because that in itself is also allowing in a distraction. An article that I read a while back, I went to look for it, and I'm going to read a part of what it says. It says, multitasking adversely affects how you learn. Even if you learn while multitasking, that learning is less flexible, so you cannot retrieve the information as easily. Research demonstrates that people use different areas of the brain for learning and storing new information when they are distracted. Brain scans of people who are distracted or multitasking show activity in the striatum, I think that's how you say it, a region of the brain involved in learning new skills. Brain scans of people who are not distracted show activity in the hippocampus. That's a region that's involved in storing and recalling information. So discussing this is talking about a person's research. The researcher said, we have to be aware that there is a cost to the way that our society is changing, that humans are not built to work this way. We're really built to focus. And when we sort of focus ourselves to multitask, we're driving ourselves to perhaps be less efficient in the long run, even though it seems or it feels like we're being more efficient. And I'll link to that article in the show notes, of course. But what's really interesting about that to me is there's two parts of the brain, right? The part that actually we need for retention, when we're trying to retain something, that part is you bypass that when you are working distracted. And it makes me think about our youth, our students, all of us really, because we're all learning every day as we're maneuvering through life, but how much is being missed, and how, I was going to say unfortunate, but it's more than that. But how, essentially I'm trying to say how we miss something that could be really important for us, something that could be enriching. It's kind of like what I talked about in the episode where I talked about the cost of trying to capture everything. If you haven't listened to that, I'll link to it in the show notes. But in that episode, I'm talking about when you're so focused on, in that specific instance, I'm talking about like trying to pick up your phone to capture something, you don't get the full benefit of if you just would have allowed yourself to be in that moment and absorb it, right? And just be there. And that is actually the same thing, because that's multitasking. I'm trying to listen to the concert and capture the concert on my phone. So actually that makes perfect sense why this applies here. At Best Today, we exist to help women just like you be your best one today at a time. So each week on the podcast, we are going to highlight your stories and your voices. So let's see what's in the inbox today. Today, we have a 5-star review of the Best Today guide from Jamie that reads, "My joy infusion. I'm obsessed. I'm on my 5th Best Today guide, and I intend to never look back to a BTG life, less life, which stands for Best Today Guide, Less Life. I'm a litigator and a mom of 3 in the process of building a house. So let's just say I have a bit to keep up with. The BTG helps me not only keep up with the balls in the air, but gives me a format to remember and focus on why I've got them spinning in the first place, and ask if I really need all the balls I've placed in my hands. Ha! The relief I experience from knowing what I am doing and why I am doing it has created a Pavlov's dog's experience of just seeing the book brings me joy. I have sent copies to my sister-in-laws, and friends, and love talking to them about how they are taking steps to meet their individual big goals. This book is a beauty, folks. I hope you jump into discovering your best today too and love it as much as I have." And what I love is Jamie has included a picture of herself with her review. So if you want to go see her joy-filled face with her joy infusion of the Best Today guide, you can go over to besttoday.co. We'll also link to it here in the show notes. Thank you so much, Jamie. I can attest she has purchased multiple Best Today guides to share with others. That's how much she loves it. When you have found something that has helped you to really steward your time well and to live with far more intention than you ever have before, you want that gift for others. And so thank you, Jamie, for not only celebrating yourself, but also being a guide and a help to others by inviting them and introducing them to the Best Today guide. It's one thing to tell someone about the Best Today guide, which please, everyone, I want you to do, but it's another to say, here it, I'm going to tell you about it, and here it is, I'm going to put it into your hands. So I'm grateful for that. So again, you can click the link right here where you're listening. Just scroll down. We'll have the Best Today guide linked. And thank you, Jamie, for the 5-star review and for sharing the goodness of the Best Today guide with so many of the people in your life. I'm trying to do both, but I'm going to miss out on what it's like to really take in this thing I am witnessing. If the second I pull out that device to do another thing, you have cut off the full flow that comes when you're just sitting there witnessing, observing, taking in the thing you're watching, right? And I think the reason that triggered that episode was me watching a sunset. I think it was when we were driving to Florida this summer. It's like we forget that life is to be experienced, right? And there's something about just experiencing life that, you know, I was born before the cell phone, right? I was born definitely before the camera phone. I have very little pictures of college because I didn't go through college with a phone that took cameras, right? My phone didn't flip. It just had buttons. If you wanted to text someone, you're going to go like 333-442-2222, right? So I just think about the people, the younger generation who doesn't know that you could actually do something and not capture it, not post about it, not record it. We lose out. And so multitasking is literally embedded in how we do life. And so this message is not really a wake-up call, but it is an invitation and a knocking at your door. That's what this is, to say, consider something different. Because multitasking is essentially default behavior, default living. And that is what I am fighting against every day that I show up here and show up in life, right? So multitasking shows up in all areas of our day, in our lives, at work, in our relationships, at home, everywhere. You're listening to someone, right? But also scrolling on your phone. You're working with your notifications on and emails on and phone on and right in your area, right? So that any moment you can respond to dings and bells. And the list is endless. The way life is set up in 2024, multitasking is everywhere. It is what's shoved and given to you. And so it's something that you have to really be aware of, which this episode is trying to bring awareness to you, but also fight against right? I want to make a case for cutting multitasking out of your life. And I'm going to challenge you to purposely and intentionally for 31 days, today being day one. Even if you've multitasked today, we'll start at this time and go 31 days to this time, right? And note the difference. If you intentionally cut out multitasking, I think you're going to be shocked at how often you do it, right? To the point where you might not even catch it until it's done, right? Driving and talking to someone on the phone is multitasking, right? And some multitasking is far more, is tenuous the word I want? That's the one that was coming out of my mouth, but it's far more damage. That's not a word. I was going to say damageful. That's not a word. Damaging than others. But first, it may be really difficult to even identify the fact that you are multitasking, right? But I think what also will happen is you will see how many unimportant things you've been trying to layer on top of important things, right? Like scrolling when someone is speaking to you. Between those two, listen to the person who is speaking to you. Honor their presence and their conversation, right? Second, it's going to allow your brain to focus on one thing at a time. If you've been feeling super drained, see what happens at 31 days of intentionally trying not to multitask, right? Focus requires effort. Okay, I'm just going to remind you, this is going to require effort, but guess what? You're worth the effort it takes. It requires effort because this world is filled with distractions, filled with invitations to multitask, and new iterations of distractions are introduced to us every single day. But it is completely up to you to set boundaries that allow you to focus and give your energy to one thing at a time, right? I'm talking to you in this microphone and that's it. I'm not doing that while also thinking about what's for dinner or, crocheting in my seat. I'm just focused on having this conversation with you because you are worthy of me pouring fully into you. And that's how I'm also going to get the benefit of this. Because a lot of times I end up saying things that I never even put in my little notes, outline, brief few words that I write. And it comes because I'm sitting here really giving my all. And that's how I receive from this. I want you to understand I'm learning. I am on the receiving end of my messages as well. And I want you to receive the benefits of actually giving things life focus, singular focus. So if you are doing something that you enjoy, I want you to be present in it. Be fully focused on that thing. And guess what? If you are doing something you hate, you dread, I also want you to give it your full focus because that's going to allow you to bring it to completion faster so that you can move on to the things that you actually enjoy. So that's what I have for you today, a case to see if I can just invite you to choose not to multitask, particularly as often as you do. And just maybe even just to be aware of it, because maybe that is what this is for you. This is the first time you listen to this. It is to be aware. And then you'll come back and listen again, and then you'll take it to the next level, right? These episodes are meant to be saved and digested, chewed on, and then come back and have another bite, all right? So thank you for being present with me for this week's episode of the Best Today podcast. This is episode 150. This is really exciting. Make sure you stay tuned to next week's episode. I have something really special as we look over the last 150 episodes. Remember that the best way to support this podcast, right, is by leaving a review, sharing it with a friend, or letting me know your favorite parts. You can do that one of two ways. You can email me at hello@besttoday.co. That's .co, not com. Or leave a voicemail at besttoday.co/voice. Love hearing from you. I do respond to all of them, all the messages. So please send me a voice message. besttoday.co/voice. We'll link to that here in the show notes, wherever you're listening. You can scroll down and see a link to that. And if you'd like to hear more from me, I want to invite you to read and subscribe to my online publication, For Those on the Journey, at forthoseonthejourney.com. It is linked where you're listening right now. So thank you again for listening to this week's episode. There's more episodes for you to discover at besttodaypodcast.com. Or if you'd like to see them broken down by category, you can go to besttoday.co/podcast. And again, listen to next week's episode because we have it broken down for you in a slightly different way that I think you're going to really enjoy too, especially if you're new and you haven't listened to all of the episodes. Okay. So thank you again, and I will talk to you on the next episode. This podcast is provided for you every week by Best Today, where we are on a mission to help you to live and work well. We do this by creating resources that bring intention to how you plan, schedule, work, and live. You can get started in one of 3 easy ways. First, by taking our product quiz at besttoday.co/quiz. 2, joining us in our online community, the Best Today community, at besttoday.co/community. Or 3, connect with us through email at besttoday.co/email, all of which are linked below in the show notes. To learn more about our company and what we do, visit besttoday.co and join thousands of customers around the world pursuing a life of intention, one today at a time.